Right here didn't have a single pothole in it. Our kids play on it every day. Nothing wrong with it. Same as this one here. So as far as I know, these people here aren't pitching in a dime for any of this. They drive on it every day. So they're gonna wear out this road. Oh, we don't have to pay. They didn't take up our road. But we all gotta pay. There was nothing wrong with this road, just like this one. Like Rob said, special assessment. When I bought the property, it had a road in it. It's 14 years old, and had where I grew up, my dad's road, 40 years old. They put sealer down a couple times. The road's fine. You should get more than 14 years out of a road. Wondering why the city didn't go after the contractor that did the neighborhood in the first place. Maybe say, hey, your road went to heck, we're gonna need to fix it. You need to come back. Everybody goes after everybody now for stuff like that. Did the city make a move like that? I'm wondering. Would anybody know? So, besides not needing a road, now I gotta pay for a road. It's not a special assessment. If you would have put some boulevard trees, maybe a sidewalk, hey, fair's fair, chip in for that. But you tore up a road that didn't need it, and now I gotta pay 3-point-something% interest. I can't come up with the money. Just not fair. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this subject?
My name is Sarah Hunt. I live at 23246 Cary Street. I'm also in that cul-de-sac. I guess my big question is, Jared, why didn't the rest of Cary Street get done? That's really my question, is why didn't all of Cary Street get done? The cul-de-sac is very rarely used, except for the bus keeps circling around in there, which I'm not sure why, but otherwise, it's just a few houses that live there. So it's very rarely used, but our house was assessed for like 3 houses into the cul-de-sac. And why didn't the rest of Cary Street get done? Any, Jared?
Jared, you'll address all these questions when the meeting is done.
Okay, well, I also want to know why wasn't the amount put up there for all of us to see? There should have been, with all the other information up there, it should have been, what are we assessed? What is the price for our house? I don't even have that information. You can't tell me that? What am I paying? And to me, it just really makes me very sad to come here and you all look at me and look at everybody else that comes and speaks like we are complete morons. You look at us with your mouth zipped, not saying a word, not commenting, not answering questions. And it becomes very useless to come here sometimes. It makes us feel that way. And I have a very legitimate question is why even the rest of all of Cary Street, I drove down all of Cary Street to get home. So why was not all of Cary Street assessed? Why was not all of Cary Street repaired? If the rest of Cary Street goes on that cul-de-sac fund or form or whatever it is that's going to be paid by the city, that is absolutely asinine. That I have to pay for my little bit of road that is hardly ever driven on. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Would anyone else like to speak on this subject? Hearing none, the meeting is closed at 6:18. Jared, can you address some of the concerns that were given?
Sure. And I'll try to, I think I have all the notes for those. But originally, when we discussed the Cary Street Improvement Project at the public hearing process for the improvement, we did discuss potentially doing more of Cary Street, but in 2016, Anoka County will be doing their Bridge Street Improvement Project, which includes a roadway extension into that Cary Street area. And there are other streets within the city that will be resurfaced in the upcoming years as defined by our CIP. And it was determined at that point that that portion of street, rather than redoing it now and having it torn up as part of the county project, that would remain until a later date. The cul-de-sac area was also done at the same time because the roadway carries street south of the cul-de-sac, 232nd and Ivywood. To the north of that, that's all the same vintage pavement. And the horseshoe, or the loop, if you will, to the west of Ivywood is also identified on a future resurfacing project. So at some point, whenever the city moves forward with that resurfacing, that loop also, those property owners will be assessed for that portion of their project. Right now, the city's policy says you're assessed for the improvements in front of your property. So those property owners, everybody does use those streets, but everybody else is assessed when the street is redone in front of their place as well. So that's why the assessment policy says 40% is assessed to the benefiting property, 60% to the city, and basically that means everybody else within the city participates in that 60%. So.
Very good, thank you.
I didn't hear the amount.
Sorry, Mayor and Council. The amount identified for the assessments, all the assessment notices, and I believe one of the gentlemen brought that to the podium with him this evening, but all the assessment amounts, the specific assessment amounts were sent out to every property owner with the specific amount for their particular property. So I can certainly help Mrs. Hunt get that amount, but it should have been received in the mail now if it wasn't. We need to do some investigating into that, but each individual property owner, the taxpayer mailing address, was sent the assessment with the corresponding assessment amount.
So it's not an equal amount at each house?
I'll answer that.
The assessment amount is not equal among all the properties. It's based on the adjusted front footage of the lot. Some lots are smaller than others along the street, so those assessments would be correspondingly smaller than the larger lots based on street frontage.
And what about the savings for the property being done late, for the road being a week overdue? It was supposed to be done on the 17th, it was not. So there should be some sort of savings to the city because the contractor could not complete the project on time. What's the savings? There should be, there always is.
The project completion date was identified in substantial and final completion. Substantial basically means nearly everything with the exception of cleanup and adjustment of some manholes and things like that. I think long story short, the contractor pursued the project. They weren't negligent in their schedule, and at this point, there's no savings associated with a couple days beyond that completion.
That's all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bowden. Council, is there any further questions for Mr. Bowden?
Nope.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for resolution 2015-54.
Mr. Mayor, I
Mr.
make a
Swindle.
motion that we adopt resolution number 2015-54.
Mr. Squirtle has made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McCush has made the second. Okay, is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of resolution 2015-54 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to ordinance and resolutions. Resolution 2015-55, authorizing summary publication of ordinance 204, second series, granting a franchise to Mid-Continent Communications to maintain a cable communication system in the city of St. Francis, Minnesota, setting forth conditions accompanying the grant of the franchise, providing for regulation and use of the system, and prescribing penalties for the violation of its provisions. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Brown makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And there is a second, and this is to approve. Correct? Okay, is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of resolution 2015-55 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next is ordinance 206, second series, an ordinance amending the I-1, I-2, B1, B2, and B3 zoning districts pertaining to the expansion of permitted uses within the B3 Business Park District and clarifying purpose statements. This time I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Mr. Orpin makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Brown. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of passing ordinance, oh, this is going to be roll call, excuse me. Roll call vote for passing ordinance 206, second series. Mr. Skordal?
Aye.
Mr. Orpin?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Okay, resolution 215-56, a resolution authorizing summary publication of ordinance 206, second series, amending the I-1, I-2, B1, B2, and B3 zoning districts pertaining to the expansion of permitted uses within the B3 Business Park District and clarifying purpose statements. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we adopt resolution 2015-56.
Mr. Skordal makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Brown makes the second. Do I hear any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of passing resolution 2015-56 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, ordinance number 207, second series. An ordinance amending chapter 5 of the city code regarding the licensing for alcohol sales at production facilities. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 207.
Mr. Orpin makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McClish makes a second. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. This will be another roll call vote. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Orpin?
Aye.
Mr. Skordal?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Resolution 2015-57, a resolution authorizing summary publication of ordinance 207, second series, amending chapter 5 of the city code regarding the licensing for alcohol sales at production facilities. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Brown makes a motion to approve.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McClish made the set motion to second. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none. All those in favor of passing resolution 2015-57 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Ordinance number 208, second series. An ordinance in the city of St. Francis, Minnesota, annexing land located in Athens Township by Sammie County, Minnesota, pursuant to Minnesota statutes 414.033, subdivision 2, in parentheses 3, permitting annexation by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. McClish has made that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Orpin made the second. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, we'll have another roll call vote. Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Orpin?
Aye.
Mr. Skordal?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Okay, resolution 2015-58. Resolution authorizing summary publication ordinance number 208, second series, annexing land located in Athens Township by Sandy County, Minnesota pursuant to Minnesota statutes 414.033 subdivision 2 in parentheses 3, permitting annexation by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. McClish makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Brown seconds. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of passing resolution 2015-58 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, resolution 2015-59, resolution approving an extension to the filing deadline for a final plat for Green Valley Preserve. I will entertain a motion at this time.
Motion approved.
Okay, Mr. Brown makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Mr. Squirrell seconds. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of passing resolution 2015-59 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we're moving on to ordinance 209 and ordinance amending section 10-81, adopting revised floodplain ordinance. And before I entertain a motion, I have a question. It says recommended action, the planning commission should review the ordinance and forward a recommendation to the city council.
Honorable Mayor, staff just used the planning commission staff memo just to not duplicate our consultant's time. So we just, it's the same information, but just a different heading on there.
Okay, so you're not looking for that.
Yes, planning and zoning has viewed this, I should clarify, and they're looking for the city council to adopt the ordinance.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, I will now entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion. We adopt ordinance 209.
Mr. Scordaw makes a motion to adopt ordinance number 209. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClish. Okay, is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Another roll call vote. Mr. Orpin?
Aye.
Mr. Scordaw?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Ordinance 210, second series, an ordinance approving the sale of city-owned real estate. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 210.
Mr. Orpin makes a motion to approve ordinance 210. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. McClish. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call another roll call vote. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Scordaw?
Aye.
Mr. Orpin?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Reports of consultants and staff members. Mr. Coleman.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, on your very last page of the packet, we have a diagram here for some modifications to City Hall. What staff is hoping to do here is enhance some security measures for our front office staff at minimal cost. So staff did get a quote of $2,955 for some slight modifications to add a door next to the entryway at City Hall, and also a kind of a fogged out piece of glass by our administrative assistants head and workstation so people don't reach over or stick their head over the sectional there. And in addition to that, they would lower a portion of the counter to make sure that we're ADA compliant with that portion of the counter as well. So staff wanted to bring this forward for your consideration. We did view other options, but they were, in my opinion, cost prohibitive. There tens of thousands of dollars were some of the quotes that we got to renovate the front part of City Hall, and we thought that this would be a good alternative.
Okay. Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Coleman?
Do we have any issues with the safety, security, or is this just a preventative measure and the ADA compliance?
I might be the wrong person to ask about specific instances. I know that there are just, with people coming in and reaching over the countertop and looking at workstations, Barb may be a little more familiar with that.
We've had a couple instances where they've picked up, leaned over the counter, picked up paper that probably they didn't need to have.
Okay,
So that glass will extend a little bit and it's kind of like Joe was saying, fog, so it's kind of, it's not clear, but we can still see through it. It should help that.
okay.
And then the door would help people just from walking right in behind the desk.
And that would be a buzzed-in door that.
I'm not
staff
sure
will
at
have.
this time if it will be, but at least it's something that prohibits people just from walking right in. If
Right.
there's a door, they may ask or before, instead of just walking right through.
Okay, any further questions? No. Mr. Coleman, are you looking for a vote or just a direction?
You can give me direction or make it a motion to approve, the modifications in that price.
Okay,
Motion.
we would, okay, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion to approve.
to approve. Okay, Mr. McClish made the motion, Mr. Brown seconded. Is there any discussion before we call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of adding the city hall security signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on, reports from council members.
I have a quick question for
Oh,
the
sure.
city administrator. I know in the past, we used to have like department updates. I was just wondering if we're gonna ever have that again. Like, one meeting, the public works would come in, the director, and just give like a little update, maybe at least, and rotate the department. So it's actually kind of nice information, so we kind of know what's going on in each departments.
We can absolutely do that. I will, meet with the department heads tomorrow and we'll schedule something out and we'll get everyone up here in front of you guys if that's what you want to do.
Okay, even just like once a month or something, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, on to reports from council members. Mr. Brown,
Nothing this evening.
Mr. McClish.
Yes, I just got a couple things. I attended the fire department open house last weekend. It was a huge turnout. It was really nice to see a lot of people there. Also, I had an opportunity to meet with our state representatives, Kurt Dowd, and also Tom Hackbarth. And they're just kind of asking how things are going in the city, and we did a lot of discussion about the safety in Highway 47 as well. Before our council meeting tonight, we had an EDA committee meeting. The EDA committee approved a purchase agreement to sell the lots at Meadows of St. Francis. If you're not familiar, those are the lots right across from the new police and public works facility that the EDA purchased back, God, I believe it was like 3 years ago. Can't keep track, but just to give everybody a little update on that. So that's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Scorner.
The only thing I have, I kind of want to pile on to the comment that Mr. McClish made. Sometimes I find myself, I learn more about what our police department and fire department are up to via Twitter than some other avenues. So I would like to see a little bit more. I don't want to go make work for people, but you know, if it wasn't for Twitter, I wouldn't know our fire department responded to looked like a pretty significant fire over here on what 234th and 4400 block there. I can't remember the name of the manufactured housing development, but I was sitting in a restaurant in California and I saw that on Twitter that somebody with their little scanner tweeted that. I haven't heard any mention of it. I assume things turned out okay and we did our jobs, but I do kind of feel like I'm a little bit lacking in, you know, sometimes I learn more on the off-week memos from some departments than I learn at city council meetings. I would like to maybe see some improvement and some reporting from the departments, if you don't mind. And otherwise, that's all I've got.
Okay, Mr. Orr.
I wanted to just say I went to the fire open house as well. They had our new fire truck there for everyone to see. It has the blue letters. If anyone sees it out and about, it's really nice. And other than that, I just have one thing in old business when we get there, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. Report from the mayor. I attended October 29th, Senator Benson held an open hall in our community center. Very informative session. Not a lot of people were there though. But She's got a lot of things going on. Her and I had a chance to talk about some things going on in and around the city here. And I think she's going to help us out with some different things down the road. So that would be good. And then on the 30th, we interviewed for a community economic development director, as you well know, and we've done the second interviews. So that is progressing forward. The third thing I want to bring up to you is, I think council has all had a chance to preview the new website, the new city website. That they're going to start to implement that tomorrow. There's 2 phases to phase in the new website. Each phase in will take 24 to 30 or to 48 hours. So it could be down, and during this time it'll be down. So it could be down for the rest of the week, but we hope to have it back up by the weekend again. But then you'll see a nice new crisp, bright, clean website that I think, did Anna do that? Yeah, Anna Anderson in our office, our administrative assistant, did that in-house. So if you get by City Hall and you like the website, tell Anna, nice job. Okay, moving on to old business.
I just was gonna bring up that, we talked about before this month about the domestic violence awareness and partnering with the Alexander House. Have we reached out to them at all about what we're gonna be able to do?
Yeah, I can follow up with you on that as far as, because I think that our option was to be a drop-off point, but I don't know that we have any communications out there.
You didn't know what?
I don't know that we have any communication out there to be disseminated to everybody.
To let them know that we're a drop-off location?
Right. That's kind of,
Okay.
it would have been better to know a month ago, if you will, to say.
Well, it's kind of a year-long thing. It doesn't have to be just for October. I mean,
Sure.
we can start the process now, and by next October, we can really be geared up to do something meaningful.
Also, just to tie on to that, Mr. Orban, the St. Francis Ambassadors have offered to partner with the city of St. Francis next year to do something. They would like to help.
Great.
So I think that's a great thing for them. Any other old business? Any new business? Anything new? Then we stand adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.